Ever wonder what secrets are hidden in the final medical examinations of the rich and famous? What shocking revelations came to light only after death? Number 15. Whitney Houston. When Whitney Houston was found submerged in a bathtub at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in February 2012, fans worldwide mourned the loss of one of music's most iconic voices. The autopsy report revealed a troubling reality behind the glamorous facade. The official cause of death was accidental drowning, but the report detailed effects of atherosclerotic heart disease and cocaine use as contributing factors. Medical examiners found cocaine in her system, along with prescription drugs including Xanax, Flexeril, and Benadryl. Perhaps most disturbing were the physical signs that indicated chronic substance use, a perforated nasal septum from repeated cocaine use, and evidence of heart disease unusual for someone her age. The toxicology report suggested Houston had used cocaine shortly before her death. Investigators also noted a white powdery substance in the hotel room. The autopsy detailed how Houston had mild emphysema, a hole in her nasal septum, and was missing 11 teeth. Water in her lungs confirmed she had been alive when she slipped underwater. The once pristine voice that had stunned the world with renditions of "I Will Always Love You" had been compromised by years of smoking and drug use, according to the medical examiner, who noted significant changes to her respiratory system. Houston was only 48 years old when she died, and the autopsy painted a picture of a body that had endured significant damage from years of substance abuse, contrasting sharply with the powerful, vibrant performer the public had adored for decades. Number 14. Michael Jackson. The King of Pop's death in 2009 stunned the world, but the subsequent autopsy findings were even more shocking. Michael Jackson's autopsy revealed he died from acute propofol intoxication combined with benzodiazepines. The medical examiner found that Jackson had essentially received hospital-grade anesthesia in his bedroom, administered without proper monitoring equipment. The report described Jackson as surprisingly frail for his age, weighing just 136 pounds despite standing 5 feet 9 inches. His body contained numerous prescription drugs including lorazepam, diazepam, midazolam, and lidocaine. The autopsy confirmed long-standing public speculation about Jackson's appearance, noting his scalp was tattooed black to blend with his hairline, and his lips, eyebrows, and eyelids were also tattooed. Perhaps most surprising was the confirmation that Jackson did indeed suffer from vitiligo, the skin condition he had long claimed caused his lightened skin tone. Examiners found both light and dark patches on his skin, consistent with the disorder. The report mentioned numerous injection sites across his body and evidence of cosmetic surgery, including nose implants. His lungs showed signs of inflammation, and chronic drug use had damaged his veins. Most shocking to many fans was the revelation that Jackson was nearly bald, wearing a wig to hide significant hair loss with just a sparse amount of short gray-black hair on his scalp. The report painted a portrait of a physically fragile man dependent on powerful pharmaceuticals, a stark contrast to the dynamic performer who had once commanded stages worldwide with seemingly boundless energy. Number 13. Prince. When Prince was found unresponsive in an elevator at his Paisley Park estate in 2016, fans hoped it was anything but an overdose. The musical genius known for clean living couldn't have succumbed to drugs, many thought. Yet his autopsy revealed exactly that. Prince died from an accidental fentanyl overdose, a synthetic opioid 50 times more potent than heroin. The report showed a fentanyl concentration of 67.8 micrograms per liter in his blood, significantly above the 3 to 58 micrograms per liter range associated with fatalities. The 57-year-old singer weighed just 112 pounds at the time of his death, far below what would be expected for his 5 feet 3 inches frame. Medical examiners discovered scars on his hips and ankles, consistent with reports he'd had corrective surgery for years of athletic performances in high heels. Perhaps most revealing was what wasn't found. Despite rumors of HIV or other serious illnesses, the autopsy showed no other major health conditions. Investigators later discovered numerous pills in Prince's residence, many containing fentanyl but mislabeled as other medications. The report confirmed Prince had been suffering from significant pain, likely from years of high-energy performances, leading to his use of powerful painkillers. What made the findings particularly tragic was evidence suggesting Prince had been trying to address his dependency. He had scheduled a meeting with addiction specialists the day after he died. The autopsy revealed a very human side to the mysterious musical icon, showing that despite his otherworldly talent, Prince struggled with the very human problem of chronic pain management and had fallen victim to the opioid crisis claiming lives across America. Number 12. Anna Nicole Smith. The February 2007 death of model and reality TV star Anna Nicole Smith at 39 sparked intense media speculation. Her autopsy report, released after considerable public anticipation, revealed a lethal combination of at least 9 prescription drugs including chloral hydrate, clonazepam, diazepam, and lorazepam. The medical examiner determined she died from combined drug intoxication, with the sleeping medication chloral hydrate being the major factor. The report noted an abscess on her left buttock containing a bacterial infection, likely from injections. Smith had been suffering from a stomach flu with a fever of 105 deg-F in the days before her death, which had left her severely dehydrated, a condition that intensified the effects of the drugs. Her body showed evidence of significant weight fluctuation over the years, with stretch marks consistent with her pregnancy and weight gain followed by substantial weight loss. Perhaps most tragic was the timing. Smith died just months after the birth of her daughter Danielyn and weeks after the death of her son Daniel, who also died from a drug overdose. The autopsy revealed no evidence of crime or suicide, depicting instead an accidental death resulting from a dangerous combination of medications taken by someone in a physically weakened state. Among the more unusual findings were the multiple breast augmentation procedures Smith had undergone, with the report noting significant scarring. The official record painted a picture of a woman with numerous health complications exacerbated by grief and ongoing legal battles, who ultimately found temporary relief through a combination of prescription medications that proved fatal. Number 11. Heath Ledger. When 28-year-old Heath Ledger was found dead in his New York apartment in January 2008, many initially suspected suicide, particularly given the intense method acting he had employed for his role as the Joker in The Dark Knight. However, the autopsy revealed a more nuanced situation. Ledger died from an accidental overdose of 6 different prescription drugs: oxycodone, hydrocodone, diazepam, temazepam, alprazolam, and doxylamine. The medical examiner determined the cause of death as acute intoxication by the combined effects of these medications. No illegal drugs were found in his system, and the prescription medications were all at individual levels that might not have been fatal on their own. What made the combination lethal was the synergistic effect of multiple central nervous system depressants. The report indicated Ledger had been suffering from pneumonia and a respiratory infection at the time of death, conditions that likely worsened the drug's effects. The autopsy revealed no signs of suicide and nothing to suggest recreational drug use. Instead, it painted a picture of a man struggling with significant insomnia and anxiety while battling illness. Friends later revealed Ledger had been having trouble sleeping for months, often getting just 2 hours of rest per night, particularly during and after filming his physically and mentally demanding role as the Joker. His body showed no signs of trauma beyond a small abrasion on his cheek. The autopsy presented a cautionary tale about the dangers of combining prescription medications, even when each is taken in normal therapeutic doses. The report's findings stood in stark contrast to the wild speculation that had followed his death, showing not a troubled star who took his own life, but rather someone suffering from common health problems who tragically mismanaged his medications. Number 10. Philip Seymour Hoffman. The February 2014 discovery of acclaimed actor Philip Seymour Hoffman with a needle still in his arm shocked Hollywood. His autopsy confirmed what many feared: the Oscar winner had died from acute mixed drug intoxication, involving heroin, cocaine, benzodiazepines, and amphetamines. Medical examiners found traces of at least 5 different drugs in his system. The report detailed how Hoffman, 46, was found in his bathroom surrounded by drug paraphernalia, including nearly 50 envelopes containing what appeared to be heroin, some labeled Ace of Spades and Ace of Hearts, known street brands. The autopsy revealed Hoffman had relapsed heavily after 23 years of sobriety. His body showed evidence of ongoing intravenous drug use, with needle marks on his hands and arms. The report noted Hoffman was alone when he died and had been dead for several hours before being discovered. Perhaps most tragic was what investigators found in his apartment, a journal where he had been writing about his struggles with addiction and attempts to stay sober through Narcotics Anonymous meetings. The toxicology report showed he had ingested a particularly dangerous combination, with each substance amplifying the other's effects. Friends later revealed Hoffman had been battling depression following a separation from his longtime partner. The autopsy provided a grim reminder of how powerful addiction can be, having pulled back into its grip someone who had successfully maintained sobriety for over 2 decades and achieved the highest levels of professional success. Number 9. Amy Winehouse. When Amy Winehouse joined the 27 Club in July 2011, fans immediately suspected drugs were involved given her public battles with substance abuse. However, her autopsy revealed something few expected: there were no illegal drugs in her system. Instead, the cause of death was alcohol poisoning. Her blood alcohol content was a staggering 0.416%. More than 5 times the legal driving limit in the UK and well within the range considered potentially lethal. The medical examiner determined she died from alcohol toxicity, with death by misadventure as the official verdict. The report detailed how Winehouse had been abstinent from alcohol for 3 weeks before going on a heavy drinking spree the day before her death. Her body showed signs of alcoholic hepatitis, and her lungs revealed changes consistent with smoking both tobacco and crack cocaine, though no cocaine was present at the time of death. The autopsy noted she weighed just 110 pounds and had struggled with bulimia for years, which had weakened her system. Perhaps most poignant was the timing. Winehouse died during a period when she was attempting recovery. Empty vodka bottles were found in her room, and the report suggested she had consumed a massive amount of alcohol in a short period after weeks of abstinence, when her tolerance would have been lower. The medical examiner found no evidence of suicide intent. Her autopsy revealed the tragic cycle of addiction: periods of sobriety followed by devastating relapses, that had characterized her final years, contrasting sharply with her extraordinary musical talent that had produced the ironically titled hit, Rehab, with its defiant chorus of "No, no, no." Number 8. Corey Monteith. The wholesome image of Glee star Corey Monteith made his 2013 death at age 31 particularly shocking to fans. His autopsy revealed a lethal combination of heroin and alcohol, with the medical examiner determining that either might have been sufficient to cause death on its own. The report detailed evidence of intravenous drug use and noted drug paraphernalia in his hotel room, including a spoon with drug residue and a used needle. What made Monteith's case particularly tragic was that he had just completed rehabilitation for substance abuse 2 months before his death. The autopsy suggested his period of sobriety had lowered his tolerance, making him more vulnerable when he relapsed. The report mentioned Monteith had struggled with substance abuse since his early teenage years, having previously discussed attending rehab at age 19. Evidence in the hotel room indicated he had been drinking champagne and hard liquor before using heroin. The medical examiner found no signs of foul play or suicide intention. Friends later revealed that despite his public success, Monteith had been battling inner demons for years, using his charm and humor to mask his struggles. Perhaps most notable was what the autopsy didn't show: no other health conditions that might have contributed to his death, underscoring how lethal the combination of opioids and alcohol can be even in an otherwise healthy young person. His autopsy report became part of growing awareness about the opioid epidemic affecting people across all social and economic boundaries. Number 7. Brittany Murphy. When 32-year-old actress Brittany Murphy collapsed in her shower in December 2009, speculation ran rampant. Her official autopsy report identified the cause of death as pneumonia combined with anemia and multiple drug intoxication from prescription and over-the-counter medications. The report noted she had been taking various medications for respiratory illness, including hydrocodone, acetaminophen, and L-methamphetamine, found in some decongestants. No illegal drugs were detected. The autopsy described Murphy as a 32-year-old Caucasian female appearing younger than the stated age, weighing just 115 pounds with signs of significant anemia. Her blood hemoglobin level was at roughly half normal levels. The medical examiner noted she had been suffering from flu-like symptoms for days. The report became even more chilling when, just 5 months later, Murphy's husband Simon Monjack died in the same house from similar causes, pneumonia and anemia. This bizarre coincidence led to speculation about environmental factors, with some suggesting toxic mold in their home might have played a role, though this was never officially confirmed. The autopsy revealed Murphy had been significantly weakened by iron deficiency anemia, a condition that compromised her ability to fight off the pneumonia. Friends later reported she had appeared increasingly frail in her final months. Perhaps most troubling were revelations about her isolation in her final days. She had been seen by a doctor but hadn't been to a hospital despite serious illness. Her mother reported that Murphy had said, "I'm dying, I'm going to die. Mommy, I love you," shortly before her collapse. The coroner found no evidence of any eating disorder despite her low weight, concluding instead that her compromised health state left her vulnerable to the pneumonia that ultimately claimed her life. Number 6. Chris Cornell. When Soundgarden frontman Chris Cornell died by suicide in May 2017, fans wondered what could have driven the grunge legend to such an end. His autopsy revealed significant amounts of prescription drugs in his system, including the anti-anxiety medication Ativan, lorazepam, pseudoephedrine, a decongestant, and barbiturates. While the medical examiner determined the cause of death was suicide by hanging, the toxicology findings raised questions about Cornell's mental state at the time. The autopsy noted abrasions on his head and lower extremities, but determined these were consistent with self-inflicted hanging. Cornell had been open about his struggles with depression and substance abuse throughout his life, having previously overcome addictions to alcohol and OxyContin. What made the findings particularly notable was that Cornell had been sober for years before his death. His wife Vicky later stated she believed the Ativan affected his judgment, noting that when they spoke shortly before his death, he sounded different, slurring his words and admitting he had taken an extra Ativan or two. The medical examiner found no evidence of other health conditions that might have contributed to his death. Perhaps most poignant was the timing. Cornell had just performed a concert with Soundgarden hours before his death, with audience members later reporting nothing unusual about his demeanor during the show. The report detailed how Cornell was found with a resistance band around his neck and the opposite end attached to a metal clip over the top of his hotel bathroom door. At 52, Cornell became another in a tragic line of grunge pioneers to die prematurely, following Kurt Cobain and Lane Staley. His autopsy highlighted the complex interplay between mental health, medication, and suicidal behavior. Number 5. Carrie Fisher. Beloved as Star Wars Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher's December 2016 death at age 60 after a heart attack on a flight from London to Los Angeles led to a complicated autopsy report. The medical examiner determined sleep apnea was the primary cause of death, with atherosclerotic heart disease and drug use as contributing factors. The toxicology report revealed evidence of cocaine, methadone, MDMA, ecstasy, alcohol, and opiates in her system. The cocaine was determined to have been taken approximately 72 hours before her death. The report noted significant buildup of fatty tissue in Fisher's arteries, indicating heart disease. Perhaps most surprisingly, given her openness about her bipolar disorder, the report found she had been taking fexofenadine, alprazolam, and her prescribed antidepressant medications. The medical examiner couldn't conclusively determine whether the substances in her system directly contributed to her death, but noted they likely exacerbated her condition. Fisher had been remarkably candid throughout her life about her struggles with bipolar disorder and substance abuse, even writing about them in her semi-autobiographical novel, Postcards from the Edge. The autopsy revealed evidence of long-term damage to her body from years of substance use, despite periods of sobriety. What made the findings particularly poignant was that Fisher had become an outspoken mental health advocate, helping destigmatize conditions like bipolar disorder. Her body showed signs of the toll her various health battles had taken, with evidence of previous heart problems. In a bizarre coincidence, her mother, actress Debbie Reynolds, died just one day after Fisher, reportedly saying she wanted to be with Carrie shortly before suffering a fatal stroke. Number 4. Marilyn Monroe. Perhaps no celebrity autopsy has generated more conspiracy theories than Marilyn Monroe's following her death in August 1962. The official autopsy ruled her death a probable suicide, finding a lethal dose of barbiturates in her bloodstream, specifically Nembutal, pentobarbital, and chloral hydrate. The toxicology report showed levels far exceeding therapeutic amounts, with enough pentobarbital in her bloodstream to kill her several times over. The medical examiner noted there were no pills in her stomach, suggesting she had taken them hours before death or potentially via injection, though no needle marks were found. Her liver showed significant drug damage. Perhaps most puzzling was the absence of pill residue in her digestive tract despite the massive overdose. The report mentioned her history of mental health struggles and previous suicide attempts. Monroe's body showed no signs of physical trauma, with the autopsy describing her as appearing younger than her 36 years. The examination noted she had undergone cosmetic surgery, including rhinoplasty and a chin implant. Interestingly, the autopsy found no alcohol in her system, contradicting initial reports. What made the findings controversial were inconsistencies in the investigation. Her body wasn't examined until several hours after discovery, and her organs were destroyed after toxicology testing rather than being preserved. This destruction of evidence has fueled decades of conspiracy theories. The medical examiner described Monroe as having a healthy physique, though showing signs of chronic medication use. Despite the official ruling, questions persist about whether her death was indeed suicide or possibly accidental overdose or even, as some conspiracy theories suggest, murder. The incomplete nature of the investigation and reporting has left her true cause of death open to speculation more than 60 years later. Number 3. Elvis Presley. When the king of rock and roll died in August 1977, his autopsy findings were initially sealed at the family's request, fueling decades of speculation. When details eventually emerged, they painted a shocking picture of Elvis at just 42. The autopsy revealed Presley's cause of death as cardiac arrhythmia due to undetermined causes, though later toxicology reports found evidence of 14 different drugs in his system, including powerful opiates like codeine, morphine, and Demerol, along with Valium, Placidil, and other sedatives and stimulants. Perhaps most surprising was Elvis's physical condition. He had gained significant weight, reaching approximately 350 pounds according to some accounts, a dramatic change from his once trim physique. The autopsy revealed severe constipation, with his colon twice the normal length and width, containing compacted fecal matter estimated to be 4 months old, likely a result of his heavy prescription drug use affecting his digestive system. His lungs showed evidence of emphysema despite him not being a heavy smoker, and he had significant heart disease with his coronary arteries showing 50 to 60% blockage. The medical examiner found evidence of multiple health conditions, including glaucoma, hepatitis, and enlarged heart and hypertension. Elvis's body showed needle marks from where he had received vitamin B12 injections, which his physicians sometimes mixed with painkillers. The autopsy documented numerous prescription bottles in Elvis's bedroom and bathroom, many from multiple doctors. Most shocking was the evidence that Elvis, once a symbol of youth and vitality, had essentially aged his body decades beyond his years through prescription drug abuse and poor health habits. His personal physician, Dr. George Nishapoulos, later admitted to prescribing over 10,000 doses of sedatives, amphetamines, and narcotics in just the last 20 months of Elvis's life. Number 2. Kurt Cobain. The 1994 suicide of Nirvana frontman Kurt Cobain at age 27 stunned the music world, but his autopsy revealed details that added new dimensions to the tragedy. The official cause of death was a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head, but toxicology results showed a massive amount of heroin in his bloodstream, 1.52 milligrams per liter, a concentration 3 times the lethal dose for even a heavy user. This finding puzzled medical examiners, as such a high dose would typically cause immediate unconsciousness or death, raising questions about how Cobain could have subsequently used the shotgun. The report documented needle marks on his arms and the presence of diazepam Valium in his system. The autopsy noted Cobain's slender build, weighing just 130 pounds with evidence of poor self-care in his final days. Medical examiners found traces of previous suicide attempts, including scars on his arms. The report detailed the scene meticulously. Cobain was found with a Remington shotgun against his chin, a suicide note nearby, and drug paraphernalia including a cigar box containing syringes and a burnt spoon. Perhaps most tragic was evidence of his preparation. He had carefully arranged his identification for police to find. The autopsy showed Cobain had been suffering from chronic bronchitis and inflammation of his stomach lining, conditions likely exacerbated by his drug use and smoking. The medical examiner documented tattoos including a K on his left bicep for his wife Courtney Love and an acoustic guitar on his right forearm. Despite the clear evidence of suicide, the unusual concentration of heroin has fueled conspiracy theories for decades, with some suggesting Cobain couldn't have functioned enough to pull the trigger given the drug levels in his system. The autopsy painted a picture of a troubled genius who had been planning his exit, with evidence he had barricaded himself in the room above his garage where he took his life. Number 1. Judy Garland. When Judy Garland died in June 1969 at age 47, her autopsy revealed the devastating toll that Hollywood's early star system had taken on her body. The official cause of death was an incautious self-overdosage of barbiturates, with the medical examiner ruling it accidental rather than suicidal. The toxicology report found a blood concentration of 10.3 micrograms per milliliter of the barbiturate fentanyl, an amount not typically lethal for someone with her tolerance but sufficient given her weakened physical state. Perhaps most shocking was what the autopsy revealed about Garland's overall health. Despite being just 47, her body showed evidence of long-term liver damage, suggesting years of substance abuse. The medical examiner noted she weighed just 94 pounds and showed signs of malnutrition, with her liver showing changes typical of chronic alcoholism. The autopsy confirmed what many had suspected: decades of prescribed amphetamines and barbiturates, begun when she was a teenage MGM star, had irreparably damaged her health. Studio doctors had put Garland on diet pills and sleep medications when she was just 14 years old, establishing patterns that plagued her throughout life. The report mentioned physical evidence of 5 pregnancies, though Garland had only 3 living children at the time of her death. Her body showed scars from previous suicide attempts, including marks on her wrists. What made the findings particularly tragic was that Garland had recently been attempting a comeback with concert performances in London, where she died. The autopsy revealed evidence of atherosclerosis and pulmonary emphysema, suggesting her body had aged well beyond her years. The examination found no food in her stomach but noted physical signs consistent with vomiting shortly before death. Her autopsy became a damning indictment of Hollywood's treatment of child stars in the studio era, where young performers were medicated to meet demanding schedules and physical appearance standards. What secrets will the next celebrity autopsy reveal? How many stars are living with similar hidden health struggles today, their public images concealing private battles with substances, illness, or mental health challenges?